Real Madrid's La Liga campaign has started like a storm, and the mastermind behind it isn't Ancelotti anymore. It's Xabi Alonso. 3 games, 3 wins, and a team that looks sharper, hungrier, and far more intelligent on the pitch. But the real story isn't just about the victories. It's about a young player who was once a question mark, now becoming the beating heart of Madrid's new identity. Arda Guler, who not long ago seemed lost on the wing, is suddenly commanding games, even earning the MVP award against Mallorca with a goal and a performance that made the Bernabéu rise to its feet. What Alonso is building isn't just a winning side, it's a transformation. And at the center of it all is Guler, the unlikely conductor of Madrid's midfield. But how exactly did Alonso unlock a role that Ancelotti never could? When Arda Guler signed for Real Madrid, the headlines wrote themselves. The Turkish Messi had arrived. A teenager with velvet control, dazzling dribbles, and the kind of left foot that instantly draws comparisons to legends. The hype was immense. Madrid fans imagined another prodigy, someone who could one day stand alongside Vinicius, Bellingham, and Mbappé in the club's next dynasty. But reality was far harsher. Under Carlo Ancelotti, Guler wasn't a rising star. He was a puzzle no one seemed to want to solve. Injuries disrupted his rhythm, yes, but even when he was available, he barely featured. When he did step onto the pitch, he was usually exiled to the right wing, far from the action, often waiting for the ball instead of shaping the game. He looked like a luxury piece in a team that already had too many jewels. Madrid at the time wasn't a place for experiments. The focus was on maximizing the trio that dominated headlines. Vinicius Jr. with his electric runs, Jude Bellingham as the new talisman, and Kylian Mbappé carrying the weight of being the global superstar. In that setup, where every match was a must-win and patience was in short supply, Guler wasn't a solution, he was an afterthought. It created a strange contradiction. Here was a player with the technical brilliance to change games, yet he often looked lost, improvising in a system that didn't quite believe in him. The whispers grew louder. Was he overrated? Was Madrid too big, too soon? And perhaps most damning of all, did the Turkish Messi label curse him before he ever had the chance to truly begin? For months, Guler existed in that shadow, between expectation and reality, between promise and disappointment, till Xabi Alonso arrived. And with him came a completely different vision of what Arda Guler could be. When Xabi Alonso took the reins at Real Madrid, the expectations were massive, but the doubts were even bigger. Could a coach with so little top-flight experience really command a dressing room filled with world-class egos? Could he survive the pressure cooker of the Bernabéu? It didn't take long for the answers to emerge. From his very first matches in La Liga, Madrid looked different. Not just in results, but in identity. The team wasn't relying on last-minute heroics or moments of individual brilliance. They were functioning like a machine. Every player seemed to understand his role. Every movement had purpose, and the entire system pulsed with Alonso's tactical fingerprints. At the heart of this revolution was a bold experiment, a hybrid formation that seamlessly shifted between a 3-4-3 and a 4-2-3-1. To the untrained eye, it looked fluid and unpredictable. To opponents, it was suffocating. Alonso had taken ideas from Guardiola, Klopp, and even De Zerbi, but he reshaped them in his own way, crafting a model that suited Madrid's strengths instead of forcing them into a borrowed template. Dynamic fullbacks became the width. Midfield rotations created overloads where no one expected them. Players like Tchouaméni were suddenly asked to drop into the defensive line during build-up, while attackers like Vinicius and Mbappé thrived off the chaos this movement created. Even young names like Gonzalo Garcia began to shine, surprising everyone with contributions in big moments. But Alonso's brilliance wasn't just in the chalkboard tactics. It was in how he reimagined roles. He looked at players not for what they had been, but for what they could become. And nowhere was this philosophy more evident than with Arda Guler. Because while others saw a lightweight winger with flashes of flair, Alonso saw something different. A potential metronome, a conductor, someone who could shape the rhythm of games rather than chase them. And with one positional shift, he would unleash the version of Guler that the football world had been waiting to see. For months, Arda Guler was Madrid's mystery piece. Talented, yes. Creative, absolutely. But no one could answer the question, where does he really fit? That all changed the moment Xabi Alonso made a daring move. He shifted Guler from the margins of the pitch into its beating heart. Instead of being stranded on the right wing, where he waited for scraps of possession, Guler was repositioned into the left half space, operating deeper and more centrally. Suddenly, the game flowed through him. He wasn't a passenger anymore, he was the driver. This wasn't just a tactical tweak, it was a reinvention. The comparison was immediate and irresistible. 2 decades earlier, Carlo Massoni had taken a young Andrea Pirlo at Brescia and redefined him, transforming him from a forward into one of the greatest deep-lying playmakers the sport had ever seen. Now, in 2025, Alonso was pulling off a similar masterstroke with Guler. From this new role, Guler had what he had been denied before: time, vision, and purpose. He dropped closer to where Toni Kroos once dictated Madrid's tempo, orchestrating play with short passes, line-breaking balls, and long diagonals that sliced open defenses. His creativity wasn't wasted on the periphery. It became the foundation of Madrid's build-up, and the impact was immediate. Against Dortmund in Europe, Guler delivered 2 assists that showcased not just flair but intelligence, the kind of awareness you can't teach. Against Juventus, he controlled the tempo with 100 touches, 82 completed passes, and a staggering 91% accuracy. 9 of those passes were long balls that carved through the press, proving he could dictate the game against elite opposition. His heat map told the full story. Complete control of the left interior channel, moving between defense and attack like Madrid's new axis of balance. But perhaps his most symbolic performance came in La Liga against Mallorca. Not only did he score, but he also created chance after chance, earning the MVP award and silencing the doubts that once hovered over him. The Bernabéu didn't just applaud his talent, it recognized his evolution. Arda Guler was no longer the fragile wonder kid. He was Madrid's metronome, the link between chaos and order, the player who made the system sing. What Alonso had done was more than tactical. It was psychological. He had given Guler responsibility and with it, confidence. A player once dismissed as a luxury had become indispensable. And in Madrid, that kind of transformation doesn't go unnoticed. What Xabi Alonso is constructing at Real Madrid goes far beyond tactics or individual brilliance. It's not just a 3-4-3 or a 4-2-1. It's not about rigid formations or textbook strategies. What Alonso is creating is a living mechanism, a system that breathes, shifts, and adapts in real time. Look closely and you'll see it. Tchouaméni sliding into the defensive line without hesitation, Guler stepping forward into midfield like it was rehearsed 1,000 times, Vinicius drifting inside to drag defenders while Mbappé stretches the pitch wide. None of it looks chaotic because every action triggers a reaction. It's choreography disguised as freedom. In Ancelotti's era, Madrid often relied on improvisation. Players of immense talent could conjure moments of magic, but the structure was fragile. If things broke down, the team looked disconnected. Under Alonso, it's the opposite. The talent is still there. How could it not be with names like Vinicius, Mbappé, and Bellingham? But now it operates within a framework that magnifies their strengths and hides their weaknesses. The most striking symbol of this shift is Arda Guler himself. Once a luxury player, now the rhythmic anchor. His presence allows Bellingham to surge forward with freedom, knowing the heartbeat of the team is behind him. He gives balance to a side filled with vertical energy, stabilizing the chaos with calm precision. Arda Güler's journey at Real Madrid has gone from uncertainty to inevitability. Once labeled a fragile prospect, dismissed as a luxury, and overshadowed by brighter stars, he now stands at the core of Xabi Alonso's grand design. His reinvention isn't just a personal victory, it's the embodiment of a new era at the Bernabéu. Because this Madrid is no longer defined by chaos. It's not about waiting for magic to appear out of thin air. It's about rhythm, about balance, about a machine that runs because every piece, no matter how young or unexpected, fits perfectly. Guler has proven that influence in football doesn't come from running the fastest or shouting the loudest. It comes from dictating the pulse of the game when the pressure is at its highest.